Hey everyone, welcome back to the IHC craft room. Tonight we're keeping it cozy and creative with a dot painted angel on this beautiful tree trunk slice. We're gonna dot paint this beautiful angel right onto that. So I'm really excited, and this is live number 5 in the holiday how-to series. And as always, it's totally beginner friendly. You can dot along using dotting tools if you have them. Or if you don't and you want to try something from home, I would suggest using the back of a paintbrush. You can use the top of a pencil. You can use toothpicks. Pretty much anything you can think of that will make a dot can be used as a dotting tool. So grab whatever you've got handy if you feel like dotting along. And if not, get comfortable, grab something fun to drink and chill with me. I'm gonna try to make something beautiful. The downloadable for tonight's image of this beautiful angel is, it's linked in the description. So you can grab that if you want to follow along. Or like I said, just hang out with me and we're going to have a good time. So first we're going to paint this base and then we'll get started with transferring it over. I got this at Dollarama for $2. They also have like a bigger one that I think was $4.50, but this is quite large. I want to say it's about 7 inches. So it's a really nice sized piece to work with. Now, of course, you can dot directly onto this if you want. If you do, I recommend that you use some varnish or something to seal it with before you start dotting, or else all of your dots are going to get sucked in to the wood, which will be a little bit challenging to get good dots in that situation. So we're going to avoid that altogether by putting down a layer of chalk paint, which will really give us a good level surface. It'll fill in all of those uneven ridges and give us a really nice surface to work with. Now, my intention is I'm going to use this paint and I'm going to basically go up to this last ring of the trunk so that you see the outer bark and you have this one little bit of like the white inner, and then everything else is going to be black. That's the plan. And then we're going to transfer this angel onto our back and start dot painting it. So now you know what's up. Let's get started. You could totally draw a circle using a compass. I have a compass here. But I think I'd rather just kind of follow the edge of the natural, what's this called? The ring. Now, I do recommend anytime you're doing a base coat on anything to always seal it with varnish or some kind of sealer. I really enjoy all the Liquitex varnishes and I use them interchangeably. But usually when I'm dotting on camera, I will use the matte just to kind of help reduce the glare of my lights. I don't know if it actually works, but I try. I don't have the steadiest hand in the world, but you also don't have to be perfect, right? If nothing else, if you learn nothing from my channel, I hope it's that being perfect is a little boring. I really do embrace the mistakes, even though I do strive to not make them. But when they do, I'm just like, meh. Oh well, c'est la vie. Now, chalk paint actually dries pretty quickly. And because it's such a thick consistency, one coat will do you nice. You really don't need to do a second coat unless you're trying to touch something up. So you really could do this, wait like 5-10 minutes. The problem is you're not supposed to do that. If you're trying to be a good little person, you're supposed to do your base coat, which we're doing right now. Then you let it dry for 24 hours, even 48 hours. And then you varnish your base coat to protect it. And you let that set for 24 hours. And then you dot paint. In a perfect world, that's what we would do. But if you're just trying to have a good time, let the paint dry and go on with your life. Don't worry about it. Don't stress. It's not that big of a deal. Okay, I'm just going to fix this real quick, and then we're going to fill in. I'm getting close to the bottom of this paint container, and I've already bought myself like a backup so that when I run out, I'm ready, but it's getting annoying how low it is in the jar. I'm getting itchy to start my new one, but I don't want to waste what's left. All right. You're in good shape over here. This is a little messy. This is a nice brush. I got this from the dollar store as well, Dollarama. I don't think I've ever really bought a brush from Michael's before. I don't want that much paint on my brush. Nice. Very nice. All right. I'm not a big fan of having to be meticulous like that. I prefer this part. You can just be like, ooh. Oh, don't get too feisty. You're going to go over the edge and then you'll be unhappy. Okay. Now, you don't have to do a black background. You could do any color you want. I actually really debated between black and white because an angel on white would look really pretty as well. But you can't beat the contrast of a black background. It just makes everything pop. Okay, beautiful. So, like I said, if you want to get started on this quickly, you could let this dry for like 20 minutes, put on a layer of varnish, or you could be a rebel and skip the varnish and hope that you don't make a mistake when you're dot painting, or you leave your mistake because I like leaving mistakes. Makes it special. However, for tonight's purposes, though, I'm not going to do either of those things because I went to Hogwarts and look at me, I have another one ready. Ta-da! So we're going to actually start dot painting on this one instead, which I've prepared ahead of time. And I have sealed with varnish. So before we continue, we need to get our angel ready. So I'm going to use a technique that I have used many, many times before on my channel because I am not capable of freehand drawing things other than, I mean, I draw a pretty mean stick figure and I'm used to make these eyeball people with big tennis shoes. Whatever. Let's move on, shall we? But this technique is something I learned when I was a kid. And it has done me well all these years. And so basically what we're going to do is on the back of this image, I am going to draw with a chalk pencil. I'm just going to scribble all around it. All around, basically anywhere where I want detail is where I am going to cover with my chalk pencil. And then once that has been covered in chalk, I'll lay it down wherever I think is the best spot. And then I'm going to use something like, you could use a pen or something, but I'm going to use a dotting tool to outline against the drawing, which will then transfer the chalk onto my backing here. So that's the plan. It generally works pretty well as long as you don't miss anything. So let's have a little patience. And the chalk erases very easily with an eraser, believe it or not. You could totally use like a Q-tip, a damp Q-tip if you want. But I really do find that a regular eraser works very, very well. And in case I forget to mention it later, guidelines are great if you want to work with them. This kind of outline is super, like it's so easy and it's so fun and versatile. But keep in mind, oh, I need to sharpen this. But keep in mind that you never want to seal your finished product if there is a chalk line there. Once you put varnish on it, oh, this is going to break. Once you put varnish on it, it's not coming off. So if you don't want the chalk outline to stay, make sure you get rid of it prior. Oh, I knew you were going to break. I was trying to be gentile. This is something I actually always kind of struggle with chalk pencils, which I find kind of embarrassing because frankly, I should have mastered sharpening a pencil or a pencil crayon in like, I don't know, elementary school. Oh, well, we all have our talents. Apparently that's not one of mine. Okay. Did I get all of it? I kind of think I did, but now there's no way I didn't. How about the wings? Did I get the wings? I think I did. I don't want to have to trace it twice. This is why I'm being so annoying about this, because it's happened to me before where I've accidentally missed a spot. And then because there's no chalk to transfer, you have to take it off, put the chalk on, and then try to line up the lines you already did. And it's not something I want to do right now. Okay, so my wood is round, but it's slightly warped. I feel like it's a little warped like this. So I'm going to put this right here because that'll be right where the... What do you think? I can actually cut this more just to be sure if I like where it is. I feel like that's the middle. Now, if you want to measure it, go for it. Get your little ruler and measure the middle points and draw yourself across and plop her right on top. It's both religious and symmetrical. But I often like to fly by the seat of my pants, and I appreciate a slightly off-center angel as much as I do one that is on center. So we're going to go ahead. Hold on. Did I do the halo? I don't know. So just in case. I don't know if I'm going to put the stick of the halo. I feel like I think I wanted to like hover. Although I do appreciate why they did that. Okay, let's see. Apologies. I know you can't see this, but I need a moment Okay. I would say I'm happy with that. That's nice. I think I've got a decent gap. Yeah. Okay. Here we go. So you want to do, I'm using the top of this because it's a bit on the smaller side, but not so small that it's like gonna cut a hole into the paper. So you want to use like medium pressure where you feel like you're putting, you know, a bit of juice behind it. And basically we are going to outline everything that we want to see on our wood piece. So this will work with really intricate designs as well. But, you know, that's a lot more difficult to do an intricate design when you're dot painting as a beginner. So I would recommend trying to find simple lines like these ones where you can just use your own, you know, if you use a pen to do this, it would probably be much more intelligent than using a dotting tool. Now that I'm thinking about this, because you have to remember where you've gone unless you can see the like the indentation on the paper itself. You'll have to remember that you've already done this full wing. I've already done the face. I did not do the halo though. So we'll do the halo. Okay. All right, so I've done both wings, the face and the hair, if I'm not mistaken, but I'm gonna, okay. I'm pretty sure I did the whole side, but I don't remember now if I went down the hair or not. Okay. I did the arms, I did the hands, which I'm gonna do again because why not? The number one thing you want to make sure is that you don't move your picture. If you can hold on to it, even if you get some weird little squiggles, you're fine. It's just a major pain to have to line it up again later if you don't. Okay. Am I feeling brave enough to do this? Are we going to see? I don't want to move it unless I... Okay. I don't know. Maybe I do want the halo stick. I kind of like it now that I see it with it. I don't really need to do anything on the dress because okay. That's great. That worked out beautifully. What do you think? Okay, so in terms of oh, don't do that. I was gonna go like this. In terms of colors, I'm actually going to match this. I like the blue. I like the light blue, but feel free to change anything up as you please. I'm going to also keep her a brunette. So we're going to be using a bunch of different colors tonight. I've got burnt umber for her hair. We'll be using tropical blue for her lovely gown. I have some white that I may mix into a few things and we might use for like accents on her gown. Now, I don't have the right yellow. This is a really bright yellow. It's literally called bright yellow. But I might mix it with a little bit of this to darken it up. Or I also have gold, like spun gold, that I'm going to probably use for the highlight portions of the, like the boning of the wings. We'll see. And also, obviously, for the halo, like that needs to be gold. And then for her face, neck, and hands, I've got this warm beige. So all these other ones, these deco art ones, I picked up from Dollarama for like $1.25 to $1.50, depending when I bought them. And this is from Dollar Tree, this Acrylic. So that's what we're going to be using tonight. And we're going to get started with, I think I'm going to work my way down. So we're going to start at the top and go down, but I'm going to leave the halo for last. So I think I'll start with her hair first. Because, you know, you always want your hair to look good. I'm going to move this off to the side. Now, I always like to use a wet towel to clean off my dotting tools when I'm dotting. It makes my life significantly easier. Tonight, I'm going to be using dotting tools to dot, but as I mentioned at the beginning, you can use like any number of household items to create dots. And I've done a number of those kinds of tutorials on my channel. So have a look-see. All right. So I always like to outline with small dots. I feel like you get the illusion of a line when you do that. Now keep in mind, brown on black is not going to have much contrast. You're not going to see a whole lot. Which actually I should consider that and switch her to being a redhead or a blonde, but it's aight. You know what? I just realized I'm not wearing my old lady book glasses from the dollar store. I don't even know where I put them. All right, we're going to struggle tonight, kids. So, when you're dotting, if you want your dots to be the exact same size, you need to go back to your paint after each dot. Just like that. If you are a beginner dot painter and you've never dot painted before, let me make something super clear as you continue to watch. I'm dot painting very fast. This is not the speed you should be dotting at when you're learning to dot paint. When I was learning to dot paint, I would take a deep breath between each dot. It was very zen. And I encourage you to do that at any time. And you will hear me deep breathe from time to time while I'm doing this because it's very satisfying. I highly recommend it. And recommend it. Okay, so we want it to go up against the neck. Okay. Now, I think I'm going to avoid doing the small brown outline around the face for the hair. I'm going to continue it around here, but around the face, I'll do the beige instead, the warm beige, so that it kind of blends in a little bit more. So what happens if you dot 2 dots in a row instead of going back to the paint? what happens is that your second dot will be a bit smaller because it has a bit less paint on the dotting tool to release. Not a big deal. But if you want your dots to be uniform, you need to make sure that you are filling your stylus with paint after each dot. Something that I practiced a lot when I first started dot painting was spacing between dots. I used to have a heck of a problem with spacing my dots, and I would get a lot of blobs because two dots would merge into one. And I found it really upsetting at the time. Now when it happens to me, I mostly leave it because I don't care the way I used to care. It was like a pride thing before. Now it's more an aesthetic thing. Like, do I notice it? Is it going to bug me? If it's not going to bug me, then I'm going to leave it and move on. Like, no one's going to notice it. You're the only one who notices things like that. Okay, this is a small spot right here. I'm torn. I could probably fit two dots there. I'm going to put one down for now. No, that's enough. Only one. See, I would have screwed myself up if I tried to put two. It's always good to hesitate when you're not sure. Give yourself a minute. You could just leave it and let it dry and come back to it later if you think you're going to end up touching a dot that's wet. That is always a good tip to remember. Don't rush it. You don't need to. You can always move. You can always come back to it later. You know what I mean? Take it easy. All right. So I think I'm just going to fill this in because my paint's going to dry up at some point and I'm not planning on using more brown. So I'm going to grab a 2mm stylus. It's a little bit of a bigger end on the ball here. I don't want to use too many of these because this is going to make a big dot. Okay. Oh, this is brown here too. Now, that's all I'm going to do in terms of a larger dot. And we're going to go down to the smallest stylus I have. This is 0.8mm. And I'm going to try to just fill in as much as possible so that you're never not going to see the black background. It's going to show up a bit. But you're trying to cover it. You know what I mean? Like we want this area to be brown. See, my outline's already dry. When you don't have really big dots, when they're little ones like this, the dots actually dry quite quickly, which is great because then you don't have to worry if you accidentally put a dot somewhere you shouldn't. That looks great. I'm pleased with that. I may want to drop another dot or two in there after we erase the chalk line and I can see the full outline. But for right now, I consider that done. I think I want to do the face and hands now while we're at it. Okay. I actually don't know why I put so much brown paint in there before when there's like literally that. That's it. It's like, chill, Mary. Okay, I'm going to do the smallest dotting tool I have, and I'm going to outline the face. I've never dot painted on a wood slice before. I really think it looks so cute. Such a nice rustic. This will look really cool to like prop up on a bookshelf. It will really make a nice gift as well. Maybe like a hostess gift or something if you're going to somebody's, a host or hostess gift if you're going to someone's house for a visit. Actually, I don't want to go any further down with that. Because I used brown to outline the hair, I don't want to come down with another outline there. I'm just going to fill that in. And we'll see if we like that or not. I'm going to flip my stylus over and use the bigger side. Okay. And we're going to fill that in with this really small side. And same as what we did with the brown. We just want to fill in as much as possible so that when you look, you see color, not necessarily the definition of each dot. Not until you really look close. I put that dot so close that if it doesn't blob with the one above it, it will be a miracle. So at this point, I'm going to stop filling in the neck, even though there are a couple of little gaps I'd like to fill. I'll come back to them later because it's too risky. Okay. All right, beautiful. I'm going to go ahead and move on to the hands while we're here with beige. Okay, beautiful. I'd like to put one more little dot in there, but I'm not sure. All right, atta girl. She did it. This is a really small spot, so I'm only going to fill it in with this little tiny one. I'm not going to put a bunch of, there's no way to put a big dot in there. I'll just put a little bit of extra paint on my dotting tool to make it a little bit on the thicker side. Actually, I regret that. I'm not even going to do it. This is a really small spot, so a few precision dots will do, and we can come back later once everything's dry and add a couple more dots if we feel like. I can't really see the definition between the hands now. It kind of just like a ball. I'll have to figure out what to do about that. We'll see. Okay. So now let's move on to the wings. Like I said, I think I'm going to do, this is too bright of a yellow. So I am going to, did I not grab a little? Yes, I did. I'm going to use this little container thingy. And I'm going to try to make a bit of a darker yellow. Oh, you have something stuck? That's not cool, bro. Okay. I'm going to add a little bit of the brown, the burnt umber. But like legit a little, because then I'd have to put a bunch of yellow to fix it if I'm wrong with how much I put. Let's see. No, a little more. Kind of like mustard. Yeah, that's much better. I think I might do just a tiny, tiny bit more. Oh, geez. Okay. That should do. That's good. That bright yellow before was blindingly bright. This is still yellow, but not. It's a much more muted. Okay. And I'm going to use some gold in that as well, but not for the outline. I think I'm going to keep the outline this color. Now, because I stirred this color up, there's a ton of bubbles in here, which you can see, right? So keep an eye on your paint. You definitely don't want a bubble to sit in one of your dots. These dots are so teeny tiny that they really won't have any bubbles in them. But when you use bigger dotting tools and you make bigger dots, it's very possible for you to transfer bubbles over. In which case, use a really sharp toothpick or something along those lines. I have a little tool here that I use. And you go ahead and pop those bubbles like you're mad at them. Because you are mad at them. Because they're trying to mess up your pretty work. Screw you, bubbles. So you pop them. Because if you forget to pop them, there's a super good chance they will pop as they dry. And then it's going to stay in your final beautiful project, a popped bubble that nobody asked for. Wah wah. Beautiful. That was a wonky one. So you may not be able to see in great detail, but I do try to leave a decent gap between each dot. Enough so that they're not going to run into each other. And the only way to get good at that is to literally practice it. And I'm not the person who's going to sit with a practice paper and draw a dotted line all day and all night. That's not going to happen. But I will do a project that forces me to do a repetitive motion to complete a part of it. And that will help me build this talent, this skill. of dotting very close or close enough, but not so much that I'm going to touch my last dot. There are some really talented dot painters out there who can almost butt their dots right up against each other like besties. I don't know how they don't get their dots to merge to each other. It's like a force field that they project by their awesome abilities. But I can't do it. So I always leave a little gap. And if I feel like maybe it's missing something and I want to put a little more, usually in an outline, there's no need. But if you're doing some kind of design and you find that your dots are a little too far away because you were a little bit hesitant to put them too close, then just fill in that spot with a little dot like this. And it'll look completely intentional and beautiful. All right. I have to decide if I want to continue dotting this mustardy color on all of the accent and then fill in with a little bit of gold dots, or do I want to do this actual part all gold? I'm going to think on it while I outline the other ones. If you have an opinion, I'd love to hear from you in the chat. Hello, Tony. I would love to hear from you in the chat if you think I should do this inner part of the wing gold or this mustard color. Help me decide. I keep pushing this out of the shot. I'm sorry. Something that I do, so as a beginner dot painter, but as somebody who has been dot painting for several years now, I don't have the ability to hover my hand over my project. I'm too weak. I have carpal tunnel. And also I'm lazy and I don't want to, just to make that clear. So I am always very conscious of where I rest my hand, because I do rest the full weight of my hand while I'm dotting on whatever I'm doing. So you'll find, depending on where I'm moving my dotting tool for what purpose, I almost always am leading with the pinky on my right hand so that I'm bracing my hand before I rest it down, which is fine in this situation when there's nothing over here to be concerned about. But as time goes on, especially if we decide to put anything in the background here, I'll have to be careful about where I position my hands. Wow, there is a ton of bubbles in this paint. Like, it is not impressed with the way I stirred it. Feels very violated. So what do you guys think? What am I going to do about this? What are we going to do about this? Should we do it gold or should we do it mustard? Mustard. I am undecided. Undecided. And thirsty. Okay. I think I'm going to do it in this mustard color. And then we're going to add just gold flecks throughout the wings. And obviously the halo is going to be gold as well. All right, let's do that. I'm going to stick with the mustard. Kind of bugs me that there's so many bubbles. It doesn't really matter, but it bugs me. So I'm going to give it another quick stir and see if we can get rid of some of those bubbles. Probably not. I probably just submerge them, but it makes me feel better. So let's pretend. Let's pretend. Okay. All the bubbles are coming back. I stick out my tongue to you. I don't like your attitude. All right. We're in good shape over here. I think once I complete the wings, this is going to go by real fast. This is one of those fun little projects that you can do on an evening. Play some good tunes, which I currently am in a set of headphones in my ear because, you know, copyright. Too bad for you guys because, you know, I love to sing. But anywho, yeah, with like a nice drink and some good tunes or maybe something fun to watch or half watch on TV. You know what I mean by half watch, right? You're only kind of watching it, but you're also only kind of doing something else at the same time. Beautiful. Beautiful. I'm going to spin you upside down, lady. I wonder what I do with my glasses. They really could be anywhere. Thank you, perimenopause. They could be on my head for right now, for all I know. It's true. They're not. I would totally feel it, but they could totally be on my head, and I wouldn't even be the least bit surprised. So you'll notice that if I don't go back to my paint pod to refill my stylus with paint, but I still want that even or semi-even dot size. When I dot the first time, you get the nice dot. When you dot the second time, you're not going to get it. It's going to be a smaller dot. But if you give it a couple of taps, you can achieve a closer in size dot, which is why you'll notice I'll double tap it if I'm doing that to see if I can get a bit of a bigger. But really, you're better off just going back and forth. I really do it quite interchangeably without even realizing I'm doing it. I don't know if I want to put one there. I'm a little nervous about it. Let me clean off the dotting tool and make it as skinny as possible. That's good. Oh, that one's close. I wouldn't be surprised if they turn into a little blob. Yeah, I touched the edge. I don't know why I tried to drop that dot. Okay. Beautiful. Very nice. Okay, I'm going to actually let that dry a little bit. I would say it's mostly dry already. Seems quite dry, actually. So let's go ahead and fill that in a little bit. I'm going to start with big dots of gold, I think, because we definitely want to stay away from the smaller dots of yellow so that it doesn't blend into the outline that we did. So I'm going to just use the top of this stylus, which would be about I think a 0.25 millimeter. I have never been a fan of the consistency of this particular color. And I want to say it was just that one bottle, but it's not, because every time I've bought this spun gold, I've never been a fan of the consistency of it. There are lots of things that you can do to change the consistency of your paint. There are mediums that you can buy to mix in to adjust to your heart's desire. And there are some dot painters out there who are really skilled with that. I am not that person. I mostly just complain about it and then just keep dotting. TBH. Okay. I would say that's good. I'm making my dots sloppy over there. That's better. Okay. Now I think we'll fill in with this mustard one. I'm going to use my 1 millimeter for this. Oh, that's going to be too big. Actually, I like that it's a little bit big so that we get like the illusion of a bigger yellow dot. I really want to let those gold ones dry a little bit. I'm a little hesitant about putting too many around them until then. So I'm going to actually let that dry a wee bit. Actually, this is too much paint. Okay, I would like to wait on this a bit, let things dry a little more, and then we'll come back and fill in more of this mustard color into the wings when it's a little drier. Okay, we are an hour in at this point, and I'm going to get started now on the blue dress. After I have a sip of water. Okay. Tropical blue, where have you gone? Here you are. I think my intention is to do this mostly in this color of blue, but I may like add a little bit of white in and do a lighter blue throughout as well, because I feel like, you know, to give a little bit of, so it's not just a wall of blue. So we'll see. But first we're going to start with the outline. Again, I'm going to go with my smallest stylus, 0.8 millimeter. It has the tiniest end. So this way we can kind of mimic the idea of a straight line. This is really a great project to practice your spacing on. Don't want a big dot there. There. Beautiful. I'm intentionally walking these off into the distance so that they kind of like trail off into nothing a little bit. Very good. Okay. Got a lot of paint on that one. I got lots of dots. I'm making these dots much fatter for some reason, which is fine. I just try to make them uniform with each other. Even if they're bigger than the other ones, who cares? As long as you don't see one really big one and one little small one beside it. Is basically, I'm just trying to get to a close uniformity, but you know, if one's a little bigger, no one's gonna die. That was a lot of paint on my tool, and I got 3 huge dots in a row because of that. That's okay. I don't think I want to put another one there. All right. I think I am going to go down these lines just to give, again, that slight definition, and then we'll put in bigger dots. Okay. Beautiful. So now we're going to drop a few bigger blue dots around. And I am going to do a little bit of a lighter blue by adding in a little bit of white. But not by much. Solo poquito. What can I stir you with? A shish kebab skewer, of course. More white. Okay. That'll do. Okay. Good. Beautiful. I could have actually probably dotted with that now that I'm thinking about it, but that's okay. I'm going to start with my 3mm stylus. This is the biggest one I'm going to be using within here. I don't want to go too crazy with huge dots. It's going to distract from it. Really, the point of doing different size dots, in my opinion, is just to kind of give that little bit of extra texture and dimension. It's not about, I made that one warped. It's not really about anything other than that. Now, any of these bigger dots, as I talked about earlier, that have a bubble, I see one right there. I'm going to come get you. I don't think I'm going to need these paints. Let me get them out of here so I don't accidentally knock them over. And like I said, you can use a toothpick, but I have this very stabby guy. Pew, pew. Wow, it sounded like a space gun. Cool. I didn't know it made that noise. Okay, I'm going to do a few more down here. Okay. Ooh. That was bigger than I intended. Okay. We're going to go back to that tropical blue now. But first, a little bit of popping must be done. Because you are not invited to my party. Get out. Okay. So how are we looking? What do you think? We're getting there, right? All right. Woo woo. Woo woo. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and add a bit more tropical blue into my palette. I'm going to do a few bigger dots, but I'm not going to do as big as these ones. I want them to be the dominantly large dots. So I'm going to go down to like a 2. I often like to do the trio dots, as I like to call them in my head, which is when you dot, dot, dot. There's always 3 in a row and they're near each other. But because they're all different colors, not colors, sizes. If at all possible, I want to try to stay away from putting really small blue dots near the trim so that it doesn't detract from the outline so you can tell. But very soon I'm going to switch to a much smaller stylus to start filling this in. We are running to the end of our large dots. Okay. I'm going to move down to a smaller stylus. Actually, I might just flip this over and use the other side. Don't forget to drink, friends. Hydrate, hydrate. All right. I'm going to go with the darker tropical blue, and I'm going to use the top of my stylus, which again is about a 1.25 kind of size. Keep an eye on that pinky. Be careful I don't accidentally, oh, or something in there. All right. I think I'm going to switch over to that light blue again. The lighter blue. Actually, let me do a few more up there, but I'm going to go into a smaller stylus for that. Okay. I'm going to move back to the light blue. Just give that a quick stir in case it got a little thick while it was sitting there. Okay. I'm going to go with the really small dot now as well because I really want to fill in those bits. Now, at any point, you could stop. You never need to fill it in completely. You could have just done the outline and left it. Whatever makes you happy inside. Once you've put a dot and you go, yeah, that's the last one, then that's the last one. No one can tell you you're done or you're not done. You know when you're done. And sometimes you don't even know. I want to keep these dots as small as possible, so I'm going to keep cleaning off my stylus, because the built-up paint that you get on your dotting tool is going to definitely alter the size of the dot that you're laying down. Okay. We are in good shape here. Okay. I feel like I have dotted this bloom as much as I can. Well, that was clearly a lie since I just continued. Liar! All right. What do you think? We are getting there. We're almost done. I think I just want to fill in some of that mustard. Do I want to do mustard or do I want to do gold? I think I want to do mustard. I don't want the gold to be too much. And then we'll do the halo. The thing is that some of these blue dots are quite large, and so they're a little bit paint dense, which is fine, except it means that they're not going to dry as fast as all of these other thinner ones. So I might not be able to erase my lines tonight. I might have to do it tomorrow, and then I'll seal it with my varnish. Okay, you can scoot out of here. Yeah, in retrospect, it would have been better if I did those inner bones in gold rather than just putting the dots around, but it's okay. It still looks pretty, but I think it would have looked better if I did that. Note to self, next time I do something in the future to keep track of that. Because you really do lose it, that bit of definition. You can see it a bit, but that's only because of the chalk outline. Eventually, when we get to the point that it's time to erase the chalk outline, you won't see that anymore. Too much paint. Okay. What do you think? It's halo time. I'm still undecided if I want to show the little stick going through it or if I just want to do the halo. I'm hopeful that I will have an opinion once I've put the actual halo in place. There's plenty of paint there, but it's dry already, so an extra dot shall go a long way. Okay. Okay. I think I'm going to leave this stick out. I think I want to just have the halo. But I'll tell you what, once I get to the point where I can erase everything, I'll erase the line. And if I don't like that it's gone, I'll put it back in with a dot. It's not a big deal. Okay. Let's see. What do you think? It came out so good. I'm super thrilled. I think it looks super pretty. Now, you could also add a little bit of white in here for a little more, like just a few white dots to do those lines. In retrospect, I think that's what I would have done. The same way I would have done those lines in gold, I would have done a few lines in white in here before doing the remainder of the dress, just to give a little bit more definition. But all in all, I'm very pleased with the way this turned out. Let's see. Can I erase these yet? If I'm careful, I think I can. So I'm going to start erasing a little bit, my guidelines and stuff. Now, generally speaking, it's a better idea to wait until like the next day. But I'm impatient. And really the most I'm concerned about are these bigger dots here that might not. Oh, geez. I can't believe I just did that. I literally just painted that. Okay. Yeah, I really did that. In case you missed it. That is really something, Mary. Okay. And that's what happens when you make a mistake. You clean it up. You feel a little dumb. And then you fix it. So we'll come back and fix you after. My apologies, girlfriend. I didn't mean to erase your halo like Santa Maria. Okay. I am going to be careful about the body, though, because now that I've already destroyed the halo, actually, I want to clean that a little more. We don't want that paint. What a bummer. That's okay. I do silly things like that all the time. And then you just work around it. C'est la vie. I think we should be okay to erase here. I just won't. Maybe I'll use a Q-tip for this instead of the eraser. Yeah, you see, I'm taking some of the paint off. So I'm going to stop because I don't want to destroy my work more than I already have. I'm just going to put my halo back on because that was upsetting. And we're going to freestyle this now because I don't have the drawing anymore and I'm not planning on drawing it. And then I will let this dry overnight. I'm going to then erase the guidelines when things aren't so, you know, fresh. I just want to make sure we get all of the old gold paint out. Honestly, as soon as I hit it with my eraser, my brain just went seriously and I just stopped thinking for a second. I was just like, really? Did I really just do that for real? Yeah, I really, really did do that for real. I might come back over this with a little bit of black paint because I have a couple of little dots that kind of got away from me that I hadn't noticed while I was dotting. That's okay. Now, keep in mind, you could also drop a few silver dots around or maybe some white dots around to like give the impression of clouds or rays of light or something. Whatever blows your hair back. I'm going to just leave the plain black background because I like it. There we go. I fix. Nice. Well, we had successes. We had a couple of mishaps. We had to clean a few things up. And all in all, I consider this very successful. I'm super pleased with the way this turned out. What do you think? Pretty cool, right? I'm really pleased with that. I'm really happy with the way it turned out. And it's going to look great propped up on a bookshelf, or, you know, you get those like those little stands you can get from the dollar store. It's going to look really great anywhere for holiday decor, or even not holiday decor. Just something that you might want to put in your own home. You know what I mean? So thanks so much for hanging out with me tonight. I hope you enjoyed dot painting this angel as much as I did. If you painted along, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear how yours turned out. And if you're catching this as a replay, tell me what you thought of the tutorial and what the project worked out for you, what you're working on now. Just let's chat in the comments. I'd love to talk to you. If you're new to dot painting or just looking for more creative inspiration, there are lots of beginner-friendly tutorials and live replays waiting for you on my channel. You'll find some step-by-step videos, dot-along sessions, and plenty of ideas to help you craft your calm. And don't forget to subscribe so that we can continue to get crafty together. Toodaloo!